this is the number you want to go for. 65 by 40 by 25. Hello, this is an Infiniti QX70, 2015 model year. Lately I've been sharing a lot of videos on the buying process of this vehicle, and I've also provided some justification as to why I ended up with this as a replacement. That's especially pertinent considering that I just got rid of a 2018 Nissan Murano, and the Murano had a lot of great qualities, some of them better than this one for sure, and the one that was most noteworthy is the cargo capacity. It did a better job with the packaging and just space in general. Regardless, I still thought it was a pretty good buy, and other qualities on it just beat the Murano out. And I think other people think the same, or at least are considering it, because I've gotten a lot of questions with regards to people trying to buy it, but one of the main questions are, how well does it carry stuff? What is the cargo capacity? So some of the questions more directly were, what does it do with things like golf clubs or golf bags? How well does it do with, airplane carry-on luggage? How well does it do with large suitcases? Some of those questions are more direct because it can get you the dimensions of carry-on luggage, but a large suitcase is a little more relative. So in typical fashion, I decided to just hit you guys with numbers, and I figured if I gave you the length, height, and width, you'd be able to make a determination depending on, or based on whatever luggage you have at home. And that starts with sketches. This is more illustrative, not 100% artistic, so please don't judge me. One of the things I was really curious about is that hump back there. It's deceivingly large, but it's also considerably small. Because of that window, that part right there, it looks way, way smaller. But it actually has a little bit of metal right there, and also the glass, you can see the hump in the back. So I sketched this out. This is all hand sketched, and I made copies of it. And then I also did the back, and the back looks like this. So with these, I was going to just use these as basic layouts to get my dimensions, my constraints, and then I'd provide the numbers. So let's go to the car, and then I'm going to give an explanation as to what I'm considering. I'm trying to do this video in a way that can release it as soon as possible, so please pardon the quality if it's not all Hollywood. All right, so this is what we have here, and let's look at this. Okay, actually, let me just lay them side by side. We'll be able to talk about this. So the main considerations of this: you have an opening, right? What's the largest thing you can kind of get into the vehicle? So you've got this opening right here, the trunk hatch opening to here. And this is this layout right here. From here, the U basically. But then you've got the wheel well humps. You've got this, and it goes this way as well. So this is actually your restriction. My assumption here was, if you're going to bring in one regularly sized object, think of it like a rectangle. What's the widest, longest, tallest you'd be able to push in? So at this point, you've got this as my restrictive width here and here, and this is going to be my limiter. So I'm going to do that as well. And then on height, I've got a few different things. This part right here, there's a little bit of a curvature. So I've got a height from here all the way to here. But look at this side right here. So do you see this? So this is what I took as more or less a limiting height. And this is going to be somewhere around here. Can't remember exactly how I did it. So this is it looking at it from the back. And then from the side, now we've got different things. We've got the floor right here. You've got the roof up here, right? And depending on how it's shaped, in reality, you have all this, but you do have plastic and it's curved. So it's not going to be, I always thought about this. Whenever people give you luggage space, in car manufacturers give you that stuff, they give you cubic feet. But volume, you know, unless you're transporting something like a balloon, a beanbag, most of us are going to be transporting squares or right-angled objects. So some assumptions were made here, and they took the most conservative one, which was I went to something like this. Again, because here you end up being stopped by this part right here. There's a little more length, but look, this one also protrudes a little bit. So the numbers I give you are going to be, give or take 2 inches is what I'd say. That's US system accuracy right there. However, consider that for the front, you do have some squishiness. So, you know, you could end up gaining your inch back over there. It just depends. So, you know, I think I'm going to end up leaving this vehicle to go to the other vehicle right there, the FX50, because here I've got a lot of things going on. It's not really this one here, but I've got a car seat here. I've got another one there, child car seat that is. So let's just go ahead and put that away. Great, and now we have a flashlight. So let's start with the back. Let's talk about depth. How far can you go? As you can see here, you've got this seat reclined, but then this other one there is, you know, pushed over to a certain extent. So your real, I mean, unless you're trying some challenge, I'd say this right here. You know what, let's do this. Let's just flip the seat back, down, I mean, and then just come here and bring it up conservatively. This is going to be the most uncomfortable your rear seat passengers can be. And then this length right here is going to be right around this mirror, okay? And it's pretty cool. I think whoever designed these vehicles did a pretty good job. So it's going to be right here, right around here, okay? But then you might have noticed that you can actually fold, you can actually do that to both sides. And at this point now you've got all this. It's not a 100% flat floor, but it's flat till here, somewhere around here. And then it tilts up a little bit, but you still have a lot of space. And then you've got a little hump over there for headroom. This is going to be your limiter. I'm 6'2", and this is my comfortable seating position, but I feel like you can at least survive a trip if you push this farther, a little more forward. So give another maybe 3 inches or so. Now that means that our stomping point is going to be right at the B pillar, somewhere around there or there. So again, pretty easy. I'm going to use that. With that in mind, I already took the measurements. Hope they make sense. Okay, let's start with this one here. Back here, this is what the numbers are going to look like. If you were to bring in a box, the widest you could push it in, if you're going to go further because of the humps, is going to be about 40 inches. Now that's limited, you know, from here to the other side, 40 inches. If you're going to push in something a little shallower, something not too deep inside, you can actually do this from here to here. That's going to be 44 inches. Okay, the tallest it can be, depending on how wide it is, if it's going to be pretty narrow, if it's going to keep the 40 inches, it's going to be limited by this. So the tallest it's going to be is 25 inches. You have an extra 1.25 inches, yeah, 26.25 from here, wherever it is I considered, that is aligned from there all the way to here. So from here to here in the middle, you have about 1.25 inches. So again, depends on what the dimensions are for the object you're pushing in. So that should explain or give a decent understanding of what the rear is. Yeah, I didn't talk about these, but these are kind of off to the side. So obviously you can see we do have some room off on the side, but first, how do you even get something in there? How big is it going to be? Is it going to be a cylinder like a map? Is it going to be wide? What's the widest you can get in there? So I said, maybe you're transporting a rod, or maybe you're putting a rod here as a means of restricting movement. The longest I could get, and the way I did this is just using a tape measure, 56 inches. And 56 inches, you know, put it in here, swing it around, and bring it down here. Just let it rest. 56 inches is what the number is going to be. But again, this is an odd space to use because of the layout. I just said it's going to be from here, come down this way, all the way in there. It's actually somewhere around here, all the way in there, and that's like 7 inches. 7 inches here as well, from here all the way to the end. And again, oh, this one's not very soft, but I was going to say you could kind of manipulate the dimensions a little bit. Here, this is barely, it's got barely any considerable height. Here, I guess, like I've done, you could kind of scrub things around a little bit. So that does answer this part. Let's go to the next part, which is going to be this. So looking at it from the side with the seat, with the rear seat up, this one right here. Let me bring it back up. Okay, it's a little more interesting. So with that up, your depth is limited by this part right here, okay? This part and this part, this is what limits you. So from there, all the way to the back, the deepest you could get was 35 inches. That's until right here. But again, as you can see, there's a little bit of a curvature. And then here, again, being limited by that hump, the wheel well hump, it's going to be about 32.5. So if you wanted to put something and close the trunk, you're looking at 35, well, 32.5 by 40 wide, right? Yeah, if you're going to be limited by that. Again, it depends on how wide an object you're dealing with and how tall is it, you know, because if it's up until here, you're fine. The other limit was going to be this right here, 18 inches. From here till here, which I assumed is where the trunk was going to close, it's going to be 18 inches. So there's a certain depth over here you miss out. 17 inches disappears. From here all the way till here, somehow you lose 17 inches. Again, give or take 2 inches, right? Depends on how thoroughly you're trying to fill up your vehicle. And then I also did something else. It was a little bit of an assumption. I went from here, went up to here. It's not too high because, again, this is your limiter, right? I'm just assuming you're coming in with a rectangular object. Come on here, go up, and then go backwards here. Before the glass becomes a little bit of a hindrance. Now, this number is very, very conservative. 15 inches, I think that's from here to here, assuming that this was going to block you. But, you know, there's a little bit of space here with this curvature. So maybe, I'm trying to see if this can go. It's actually quite a lot if you think about it. It's not, yeah, but it's irregularly shaped with regards to most things we're going to be transporting in our vehicles. So again, very conservative, but with regards to suitcases, I'm thinking you can bring it sideways, 40 by 35 by 18, you can make it work. And I just realized, I guess we got rid of our luggage, so I can't do that test for you. I'm sorry. Okay, but we can do more. So this other test, or this other illustration here, is going to be, that's not it. This is it. Now this is crazy, okay? Let's start here. So I already told you that this is not a perfectly flat floor. It starts from here, goes this way, but then it tilts up a little bit. The seats. So I pushed the seats all the way up to the B pillar, and then I got the number. Assuming you bring in something like a board from here, push it in, you're going to be looking at a number like 65.5. If you're limited by that and this edge right here, 65.5 is going to be the longest you can do, and you know, until you're not sitting very comfortably. And then this height right here, I'm going from the shoulder of that seat and coming down the belt line, this line right here, right? From the shoulder, coming down this line right here until somewhere here. We got 53 inches. And then I did not do the top because the top, it's actually, it's got an interesting shape because look at this. You've got the hump here, You got the hump for headroom over there, and then it goes down again, and then you've got more for, at least in the middle, you've got the sunroof, then back down again. So, and that's what I try to sketch over here. Very exaggerated, but it's just something to consider, that you don't have as much room as you thought you would. And did I get this height here? Suppose not. Well, I do know what the height is, right? It's 40 from here down to here, because I have that in this other drawing. Right there, it's 40. No, 25, sorry. 25. So it depends on the configuration of what you're pushing in. So that's what we have here. These are the numbers. But, so I have 65 or 68. 68, depending, if you have something narrow and it was going to be right here, again, maybe you're transporting some poles, you know, you could do, or not a pole, just a narrow box, 68. Now, if you're transporting poles, for example, from here all the way to the front, let's go to the front, let's see what it's going to look like. All the way till here, and I've done this with my sedans, I think this would be something like 98, 99. Again, assuming that this is going to limit how low you go. So you have some space here as well, but this is 10 inches wide, I think. I think I went to very conservative again, something like 18, because I assumed it was going to lay on this part, the rear armrest, and here maybe. But remember, since it slants down or up, coming up, it's going to be somewhere here. So you have a limit with regards to, it's here, it's this long, but it's not going all the way till, or it's being limited by how high it can go up there. And I was very, very conservative with those numbers, but I do have a number. I said, if you're going to be crazy enough and load something, I would assume you're doing this for something like lumber. 96 inches is what I think you could comfortably get from all the way in the back, this 65 point, which is this side right here. No, actually, no, that's from the middle, isn't it? We'll see, I'll show you in a bit. From here all the way to the front. So at this point, I felt like the longest, yeah, it was actually from the middle, because you're loading it right here and you don't really have much of the any more room to go on the sides. So at this point, I said that the longest thing you're going to load here is going to be 96 inches long, 10 inches wide because of that space right there. If you have 12, you could probably make it work. Again, remember, it's squishy to some extent. Those are more squishy. But 10 and 18 tall. In reality, I think you might have a few more inches, but I just felt like at this point, just going up, it was going to be a little tricky. Looking at it from the back, it looks like maybe even 24 is possible. So very, very conservative with this number. The largest, assuming you have a big box, the largest you could get then was going to be with both seats down, but only limited by this part. So that was going to be 65 long from here all the way to there, 65 I believe, and 25 tall, which is going to be this height over here. So again, whole lot of numbers, but if you're looking at this, trying to figure out what your undisturbed volume in the back is, I'd say this is the number you want to go for. 65 by 40 by 25 tall. So if you've got suitcases, I mean, I can drop a suitcase here, even without dropping the rear seats, and I can get the suitcase to sit in here and stack another one. So I think back here you're good. It just depends on what kind of hauling you're trying to do with your QX70. I'm going to post this video. I hope it makes sense. I know it is a little long, but I hope it makes sense as to what you can put in your vehicle. It went beyond just answering the simple question, can you put suitcases in there? I think the answer to that is yes. How large a suitcase can you put in there now, or how many different suitcases can you put in there? So I'd say just measure your suitcases and try to see if you can lay them side by side, maybe this way, this way, this way, and you can put others on top of each other. But the volume is there. And remember, I'm not even taking into account all the different configurations you can have. For example, right here. See, yes, you're limited by this normally, but if you have something a little taller or a little higher, if you can get your luggage a little higher, then you can utilize this space right here, you know. That's an extra like four inches or so from here till here, you know. So I think the space is there. You know, I'm trying to wonder if I can get a mattress. If I had a, yeah, let me see that. A mattress is going to be not so thick, but it's going to be from here till here, and I've got the height, right? Again, depends on how thick a mattress I've got. So let's do this. All right, I found that the maximum width from there to there is 51 inches wide. But again, that's because of the way the vehicle is shaped. Can you actually get it in, you know, because of this limit right here? Is this going to prevent you from getting whatever wide objects you want to? Look at this right here. And I'm talking about measuring a little further in. So that's just something you need to consider, that the vehicle does have some, it's got curves. So this is a limiter. The entrance is a limiter versus whatever you could get in there. But again, depending on what kind of mattress you have, you could fold it and then let it just open up inside here, right? The length is going to be your enemy at that point. But if it's foldable, might as well just roll it all the way up, right? It's just a thought. So this is an interesting video. Definitely not something I thought I'd be making to this level of detail. But if this missed the mark, please let me know. If it just makes more sense for me to get a bunch of boxes and throw them in the trunk, let me know and we'll give that a try. But I honestly felt like giving you these dimensions was going to be a little more useful in the long run. So what I'm going to do is take pictures of these things, and then if anyone wants them, I can email them to you, you know. Yep. Oh yeah, I can make this work like this. Good deal. Yeah, done this one here. So yeah, this is what I'll be sharing with anyone who's interested. And if you've been watching this video this long, thank you for your support. I appreciate your audience.